Welcome to another edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast. And, gee, I wonder what we're going to talk about today, Aaron.
Yeah, mate, not much been going on in the world of sports this week, Macca. Actually, I've had a thought. We're going to rename this podcast. It's going to be called the Super Hot Air Sports Podcast. I'm going to be Super Mahona. You're Super Macca. It's going to be twice as good. We're going to have just us on it, no one else. And we're just going to talk about super stuff. Yeah.
No.
What do you think? What a week in sports, man. What a week. I mean, at the beginning of this week, I thought I wasn't going to have an English football team to support anymore. I was thinking, I was scouring through the lower reaches of the Northern Conference League looking for someone to support. I was thinking, am I not going to be a Liverpool supporter anymore? I've been at for the last 43, 44 years. I've been a Liverpool fan. Yep. I was thinking that could be it. That could be it, Macca. Might be the end of my support.
I was contemplating becoming a Leeds fan.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, they play a great style of football.
I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Leeds, but it's just been crazy. I mean, Monday morning our time it came out, about the 12 founding members that we're going to add 3 more, and then there were going to be 5 other teams will qualify, but the
invited or qualified
will never be relegated. And then news started to filter out from, Jurgen Klopp, I think, was the first one on TV that faced the cameras after this was announced, said, my feelings are still the same as they were 2 years ago when it was mooted. And then, of course, James Milner and Patrick Bamford at the end of that Liverpool-Leeds game. And then Jose Mourinho got sacked, which we'll talk about a bit more.
And that was minor news.
It was minor news.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Carragher and Neville came out strongly, and Gary Neville actually
piled in.
Made sense for a change. Actually thought, well, this guy's actually speaking sense. And it was just... it just didn't seem to click, did it?
No, it wasn't. It was like it was unreal, eh? It was like it wasn't happening, but it was. The first time I read about it, I checked the date. It wasn't April 1st. I thought, what the hell is going on? I really thought maybe I'm just getting some spam here when the report started. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. And I thought, oh my God, this is really happening. For a start, my anger, I mean, all is not perfect in FIFA, UEFA, the Football Association, all of that, So they've done a bloody good job making all those associations that we've been bitching and moaning about for a year and a half look bloody good, didn't they? They look like the good option.
Yeah.
What made them think that they could sell this to the general footballing public makes me think that they know absolutely, if you'll excuse the French, fuck all about football, man. Yeah. They know nothing. I mean, they might know about the franchise system. They might have a world, sporting franchises all over the world. But the thing with football is that it's evolved from, 150 years of history. Clubs mean more than a franchise. They mean more than money. They're part of the community hub, and especially in the UK. And you just can't take that pyramid scheme away, even though in this case, it's a good thing, a pyramid scheme. You can't take that pyramid away, where the top teams and the bottom teams can fight to get to the top. You've got to have that hope. That is what sports fans, we live on hope. We live on the promise of something. I mean, for how many years Liverpool didn't win the Premier League. We didn't stop watching football. We just thought we might win it next year. We might win it next year, And that's what the hope. They were basically saying, let's flush all that down the dunny. Let's get rid of all that. Let's have the Manchester Red Devils against Merseyside Red every week. And that's the other thing. The teams they play, I mean, it is special when Liverpool plays Real Madrid because we don't do it every bloody season. It's one of those.
We've seen that happen
in rugby. Exactly.
Now that the All Blacks play the Springboks and the Wallabies every year.
Yep.
It's like, it's just another rugby test.
Exactly.
It's not like, in the again, us oldies harking back to the old days where we only played South Africa every 3 or 4 years, and they were great rugby tests. They were fantastic.
And we'd look forward to them and hark back to the old ones. it's just unbelievable to think that they thought that they could sell it to us, that they, and then it's almost as unbelievable as 2 days later, they realize, oh shit, we've done the wrong thing. And they turn it around and say, we're really sorry. Yeah. We're really, really sorry. We'll make it up to you. We'll get this club back on track. And you're like, are you really? How can we believe you?
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right. And I mean, some of the people involved have really only admitted that they've pulled out. They've not said sorry. Look at the Arsenal. Stan Kroenke's not said anything. The Glazers came out with a statement, but there was no apology to Man United fans. I mean, at least John Henry and Sheikh Mansour and Roman Abramovich have realised their mistake and got out. And of course, it was Man City and Chelsea that led the charge out.
And Florentino Perez from Real Madrid still thinks it's going to happen. Still says he's trying to save football. Apparently, his quote.
I've got some comments on Mr. Perez a little later on the show in our new segment.
Well, the 90 minutes, the fact that he thinks the football matches shouldn't be 90 minutes, the fact that these 12 clubs, think that we've got these legacy fans, which you and I are obviously legacy fans. We've been supporting our teams for a long time. And then we've got these new fans, which we're trying to bring into the game and bring into the sport. So we need to appeal to these younger fans. So who do they wheel out to sell it? A 70-year-old Spanish guy. It's like, if you want to sell stuff to the youth, why don't you get Messi or Ronaldo or someone that, instead they wheel out this old, crusty old guy who goes, we have done our research and 90 minutes is too long and all this stuff. And you're like, what the are you talking about?
These are all the same fans that cricket's trying to attract with the 100.
And the Big Bash earlier. I mean, look, if you can't take 90 minutes of football, watch five-a-side. Watch there's the what's it called? The indoor football. There's other games. Create your own sport.
Exactly.
We don't need to be changing football. Oh, mate, it's just been madness. I read. Yeah, go on.
I printed off a statement from one of the Liverpool fan groups, Spy and Cop. 19.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. It's addressed to John Henry, Tom Werner, Billy Hogan, and other representatives of FSG. As fans, we're appalled by the events of the last few days. Due to your ignorance, lack of consultation, and lack of understanding, yet again you have brought shame and embarrassment upon our football club. Over the last decade, monumental mistakes have been made by the club's hierarchy due to ill-judged decisions taken either without communication with the fans or with disregard for the supporters' concerns. We had the mass walkout at Anfield regarding the £77 ticket idea, then the copyright of the city's name, which you tried to lay claim to.
Yeah.
We had the furlough scheme debacle at the height of a global pandemic.
That was only a year ago.
Exactly.
The furloughing.
And now this last week has shown that history is repeating itself with the proposal of the ESL. Over the last few days, the utter contempt you have shown towards the manager, players, staff and supporters is truly disgraceful. Enough is enough. The countless mistakes, the countless apologies, the countless backtracking are damaging the reputation of our club and our city. We don't want any more hollow or patronising apologies. We want change. We want action, not words. We urge you to get around the table with fan groups. We urge you to listen, and we are calling for fan representation on the board to prevent further mistakes which bring shame and embarrassment on Liverpool Football Club's universal reputation. We expect a response on this and for fans to be consulted on next steps before the start of the 21-22 season. Thanks for listening. Spy and Cop 1906.
Yeah, well, I mean, how can you disagree with any of that? And you could have had any supporters group from any of those five clubs say exactly the same thing. The great thing that has come out of this is the fact that I've been talking to Manchester United, Chelsea, and Manchester City fans, and my Tottenham fans as well. And do I have an Arsenal friend? Anyway, I've been talking to all my mates who support other clubs, and not one of us disagree. For the first time, the club supporters who have this historic hate for one another when it comes to football have got together and said, nah, man, this isn't on. We've got to stop it. And fans have done something, they've exercised a little bit of power. Yeah. Although I did notice that you posted something that John Barnes said, who sort of said, let's not kid ourselves too much about the fan power. the reason it was reversed, I've read some other stuff where it says was twofold and very simple. FIFA and UEFA said they would have to leave the Champions League and other competitions, and Boris and the government threatened a windfall tax. So there's other reasons. I mean, of course, the clubs are going to come out and say, we listen to you fans. We really listen to you. You fans are what you are the people behind the club. Of course, they're going to come out and say that now after all this sort of stuff. But are we really the people that influence them to make that final decision? Or did they think, oh man, we're stuffed here. We're going to be so stuffed. We're going to get kicked out. The government, everyone's against us. We better just do a big backtrack. I don't know how much of it was fan driven. I mean, I know we're all together on it, but yeah, I just think these guys, they're driven by one thing only, man, and it's the mighty Luca. And I thought that they were going to basically be exercised and perhaps lose all their supporter base and all their money. So they just thought they had no choice.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, another thing, I mean, this, I don't know, it's a bit of a conspiracy theory.
Go on.
I love talking about the other day was it actually going to happen, or was it these 12 directors of the different clubs testing the waters to see what sort of reaction they got?
Well, if they were, how are those waters?
Yeah,
the Rotorua, boiling mud. Stick your toe in, you'd come out with no toe.
Yeah, I mean as Phil said, was it all a big bluff?
If it was a stupid bluff. I mean, they've done this before. They should know. I mean, they should know the lay of the land. Not telling their players, their senior management executives, the manager of the club, all the coaching staff, not telling anyone else other than the owners themselves. Yeah. You'd think that if they were trying to test the waters, they might have talked to some people who actually know what the club's about and what football's about, wouldn't you?
Exactly. I mean, that's why it's a conspiracy theory. But I guess moving on from that, what's the next step? I mean, should clubs / directors be penalised? And if so, what should those penalties take? I mean, I see already Premier League have taken away the subcommittee roles for a number of directors of all of those 6 clubs, which means they now don't get a say on those subcommittees. It'd be pretty hard to deduct points or ban teams from a competition, because it's that has more of an effect on the players and the coaches than it does on these people that are making these decisions. I mean, I don't know where and I mean, a financial penalty, charge them £1 million. It's like John Henry's got that in his pocket. Yeah.
It's difficult, eh? I don't know. I mean, I would love England to move towards a 50+1, style like in Germany. I mean, at least the Bayern Munich club had the set. And to fair quids, I mean, I've always criticised PSG as being a club I hate because of who they're owned, but they turned it away. I know they're super rich and they didn't need the money, but I don't think Liverpool or Manchester United needed the money either. I think they were just being greedy. So yeah, I don't know, man. I would love. I would love it if these guys could just piss off, like the Glazers and FSG and all that. But where are you going to find buyers for these clubs now? I mean, you're not.
Who comes in and buys them? Is it another?
Does the government? Does the government buy 50% of the club and say? But they're not going to do that, are they? Because then the other clubs are going to say. So yeah, it's such a difficult thing. I mean, what they probably need is someone overseeing, that sort of stuff. Those sorts of big club issues, where if there's any problems with the management of the game, with the governance of it, with the if they've got any issues regarding those sort of club to FA to UEFA, they need like a go-between that they can trust and UEFA can trust, and they can be their sounding voice, and then UEFA and FIFA and the FA need to listen. Too long they just sort of go off and do their own thing. Like Jurgen Klopp said, all it means for us is more games. I mean, that they're after money as much as anyone. Everyone needs to stop and take a big look at and just say, is this time for a reset? Are we doing things right? I mean, the Champions League is a super league.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And I mean, behind the background of all this, the Champions League is actually, they've promoted a policy of, a new plan for the Champions League from 2024 with 36 teams.
Yeah.
With an expanded first phase, with teams playing 10 games before going into the last 16 playoffs. So that's an extra 4 games over
Yeah.
and above the current system. Coaches and players want less games, not more. And I mean, what's going to give at some stage? A Premier League team's just not going to go into the Carabao Cup.
Well, and then now they're starting this Champions, what is it called? A conference or something? There's a third tier as well under the UEFA. Oh, mate, they're just expanding it and expanding it. Maybe the Champions League. I mean, maybe that should just be for the champions. You know, I mean,
what it used to be.
I know. And then you could minimize the games, and underneath you have your Europa League, or I don't know, you have a league table and that's played midweek, and you just have the champions of each league, or maybe the top two in the big leagues, because there's still some some nations where their champion, I think even the Dutch league, their champion needs to play qualifiers to get into the Champions League.
Yeah.
Why should their champion team, like Ajax or Feyenoord or whoever it is, why should they have to qualify? You know, they won their league. They should be in the Champions League. The Europe, you know, they're talking about expanding the Champions League to 6 teams in the England. I know the Premier League is where the power base is, but I would rather, and especially when they're talking about, oh, it's not cosmopolitan enough, we need to play more teams from around Europe. Well, couldn't you do it that way? Couldn't you do it that way? I mean, where you are playing other teams from other countries all the time because there's not as many teams from one country in there? I don't know. There's ways to do it.
The other thing, too, is the 2 of these 4 extra places are supposedly going to given to teams with a high UEFA
coefficient. I know.
So, I mean, if Liverpool failed to get in the top 4, they'd qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah, so they're looking after them anyway. It's the sort of thing I don't understand. The rich clubs are the ones that get all the competition, all the leagues up, all that sort of thing, and yet they still want their own ball and go and play with it.
I loved Jurgen Klopp's quote after the Leeds game where he said, I love the system where West Ham can qualify for the Champions League. I hope they don't do it this year, but
But if they do, I want it. This has got to be a meritocracy, man. It has to be. Otherwise, there's no competition, and without competition, there's no reward. We hate it when our teams lose, but that's just part of supporting a team. It's like
we did that for 30 years.
Exactly, mate. It's the ride. The ride is what it's about. And these people that own these clubs obviously just want the money. It's just like Carragher and Neville said, it's just pure greed. I love the way that Neville said they're bottle merchants. Yeah. And he was so right. 2 days later, they caved, So let's just hope it's the end of the Super League stuff for a while. I mean, it will rear its ugly head again.
Oh, of course it will.
They need to put something in place, or like I said, the UEFA need to, try and make these clubs happier by maybe not giving the rich clubs what they want all the time. I don't know.
Anyway,
what a week in football, though, man.
What a week in football,
are we still supporting Liverpool?
Absolutely.
We're still there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very hard to change the last 47 years.
What are we going to do? Go burn our jerseys? Anyway,
the teams chasing Champions League spots are all dropping points at the moment.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, they
Liverpool dropped points to Leeds, Chelsea to Brighton, Leicester to Man City and West Ham. West Ham got beaten by Newcastle.
I know.
Spurs dropped points at Everton. Although Leicester picked up an important 3 points this morning against West Brom, but they still have Chelsea, Man United and Spurs to play. So here we go.
I know.
Contenders become contenders.
Yeah, this is the definition of squeaky bum time, mate. This is it. The thing is with the Leeds Liverpool game, that would have, I was so looking forward to that game, but it was one of the first games in my life where I went, can't be bothered. I really couldn't because what was going on at that stage. I was just like, so I watched the first half and I went, oh yeah, we're 1 goal up. And then I went to work. And then when I heard it was 1-1, I was like, oh, well, it was sort of like, as much as we needed the 3 points, it was just, everything was secondary. I love what James Milner said after the game. I thought we looked, I watched the replay later. I thought we looked tired in the second half.
Yeah, we were poor in the second half.
And drawing with Leeds 1-1 is not the worst result for us. I still think we've got a little bit more.
Leeds are a good side. I mean, they're
They
well
are, mate.
coached,
Yeah.
and they go for the full 90 minutes.
Would you reckon Tottenham would be considering Bielsa?
Oh, absolutely. But
They should be.
I think if Bielsa doesn't stay at Leeds, I don't think he'll stay in England.
Yeah, you could be right. He just looks like the sort of guy as well that if he gives you his word, he said his contract ends at the end of this year, but apparently he's given Leeds his word he's going to be there for the next couple. Yeah. And he just looks like the sort of guy that money doesn't matter to him. No, it's all about football and that's it, you know. So, and I think if he's given his word, he'll probably be at Leeds for a little while. But yeah, Tottenham could do worse, couldn't they, mate?
Yes, if you ever get Amazon Prime, there's a really good documentary. It's one of those sort of fly on the wall ones, and it's over about 6 episodes on the season before they won the championship, and then they followed it up with 2 episodes on the year they won the championship, so last season. But there's a really good part in it, and it focuses on Bielsa and talks about his history and sort of it's a bit of an interview with him. And yeah, having watched that, he's his own man. He's, as you say, not concerned about money or fame. He just loves football. I mean, they call him the professor.
They do.
And he just is an amazing coach and has just tremendous values around football. I mean, hearing what he had to say before the game against Liverpool the other day as well, it mirrored Klopp's words. And
just to hear all the other managers talk about him, when they all talk about him, they all just talk about him like he's Jesus. They do. He's just reverential the way they talk about him. I did you notice also though that Klopp was sitting on a bucket?
Yes,
he was mimicking him. I was like, what's going on? I've never seen you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose he was honoring him, was he? I mean, I don't know.
Who knows?
It was interesting. Anyway, maybe that was in response to the jerseys they put in our locker room. You know, because Klopp didn't seem too happy about that, did he?
No.
You know.
Anyway, not such a good week for Sheffield United. They were relegated with 6 games to go, equaling the record for the earliest relegation. Norwich are back. They've confirmed their promotion, and it looks likely they'll be joined by Watford. And at the moment, Bournemouth sit in 3rd place with Swansea, Brentford and Barnsley sitting in the rest of the playoff spots. Could be that the same 3 that got relegated from the Premier League last year all come back up again.
Could be, mate. Could be. What's the difference between Sheffield United and Norwich, though? Obviously, Norwich kept their manager. I mean, that's the... You know, I mean, Sheffield United, even if they had gone down with Chris Wilder, I'd say they would be odds on to come back up next year. But now they're without him. They're going to get relegated. And who knows what the hell's going on. I mean, you got someone in your club that loves your club and is doing a good job. They're getting paid, you know, their salary, the amount of money they pay their players is well below all the other teams. They didn't make any signings. You know, he did a great job. So sacking him was wrong. And Norwich... I mean, with the softest, what's his name? The Norwich manager? Daniel Farker. Mm-hmm. He's such a strange man. He talks very softly.
He does.
But yeah, they stuck with him. You know, even though they got relegated, they stuck with him. And look what's happened. You get that bounce back. I wouldn't be surprised if the same teams did bounce back, but I don't know about Bournemouth. They've been a bit up and down. Yeah. I reckon, They
seem to have been a bit more consistent recently, though, which...
Since they sacked their manager,
sign, obviously coming into the business end of the season. But I mean, we could see last year's relegated 3 come straight back up, and 2 of the 3 that got promoted go straight back down with Fulham and West Brom. Obviously, Leeds aren't going to get relegated.
Well, no,
they're and truly safe.
They're good. They're good. Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? If 3 teams that went back up, bounce back up. I mean, that says a lot for the parachute payments, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
But keeping your manager, man, it's so important for me. Just don't pull the trigger too early.
I watched a bit of the Leicester West Brom game this morning, and West Brom just looked like they're done.
Did they?
Yeah,
yet a couple of weeks ago they had a couple of great results.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this morning they just. I mean, Leicester played well. Don't get me wrong. And scored 3 goals in the first half, but West Brom just didn't look interested. And I mean,
so you mean Sam
basically
can't motivate
the whole game?
He what? He just sat down.
He basically sat in his chair the whole game.
He's collecting a nice bet.
Sammy Lee was standing up in the coach's area, but
not everyone was yelling, "Stand up, Sammy!"
Yeah.
And a little man, wee man.
Quite right.
Chelsea upset Manchester City though, mate, and Leicester beat Southampton to make the FA Cup final. So we've got a Chelsea-Leicester FA Cup final.
Yep.
Which is interesting. And of course, City face Spurs this weekend in the Carabao Cup final without Jose Mourinho, with their new manager in tow, Ryan
Mason.
Ryan Mason, who used to play not that long ago. He's only 29 years old. Who you got in those two finals, mate? FA Cup final and Carabao Cup final. Give me a couple of ones.
I think probably Chelsea in the FA Cup final.
Okay.
Although it depends what Leicester side turns up on the day. If it's the good Leicester side, they could win it easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, City and Spurs, who really knows? It just, I mean, now that the quad is gone for Manchester City, will they be as upbeat for a Carabao Cup final? They still need to secure the league title, and of course they've got important Champions League. So they may just go into this and face the Spurs side on a bit of a backlash.
Okay, so who you got in that one? You haven't really said.
No, I didn't.
Sit on the fence.
Yeah, I think City probably.
Okay, so I'm going to take. So you're going for City, okay? Because you said Spurs, and now you're going City, okay? Okay, so I'll take Leicester. I reckon Leicester can beat Chelsea. I was going to say City. I reckon City will thrash Spurs. I can't see Spurs doing much. I doubt Harry Kane will be fit. I mean, if he is, he won't be fully fit.
Yeah.
And I can see City smashing them. I think they'll be up for it because they got knocked out in the semis, and they'll want the first piece of silverware. And Spurs, man. I mean, what can you say about them? They are just so Spurs.
Talking about Spurs, Jose Mourinho was, of course, sacked under the cloud of the European Super League. I've seen it reported in a couple of different papers in the UK saying he refused to take the team out onto the training field on Monday as his opposition to the Super League announcement, and was sacked on the spot. By all accounts, after he was sacked, he went back to his office to grab all his belongings, and ended up giving his team the what for 2 hours before he finally left the complex.
What I thought, as soon as I heard that he'd been sacked, I thought, this is so perfect for Jose. This is so him. Something like this happens, something massive like this, and he goes, wicked, I can take the high road here. I'm going to get the boot here. I'm going to get the boot anyway. So I'm going to say, right, I'm completely against this. I'm going to get all the fans on my side. I'm going to get the players on my side, and everyone will love me, and everyone's going to hate them. I thought that, whether that's me being cynical or that's me watching Jose Mourinho for the last 20 years, I don't know. But I just thought, mate, you're using this for your own means, and that's what he does. So, I mean, very clever guy, very clever guy.
He's a very clever guy.
But
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me if he'd done that, as you say.
And then there's the other thing is they said that Daniel Levy sacked him, so that he because if Jose Mourinho won the League Cup, that he would find it very, very hard to sack him. He wouldn't be able to, and so maybe that's the reason that he sacked him. He didn't want him to win another trophy, so it's sort of kind of a little bit spiteful. Who the hell knows? But would have been good to watch.
I mean, it's very strange that you would sack your manager in the week leading up to a major final. I mean,
yeah, but Daniel Levy's a strange man, mate.
He's a very strange man. Now, Mourinho has now been sacked 4 times from a Premier League club, twice by Chelsea and once by Man United, and now Spurs. He has accumulated £93 million severance payments from those 4 sackings.
All right. He's got a small island off the coast of Barbados. It's called Mourinho Island.
Exactly.
Mate, they want to dance with the devil, you know? I mean, I say good on him. I mean, I cannot believe that Spurs hired him. When it happened, I couldn't believe it.
It was complete shock. Yeah.
It was just so weird. He'll never work for another Premier League side again. I can't see him being in the Premier League ever again. I'd say he'll probably... his best fit for me would be to go into international football, where he doesn't have to deal with the day-to-day crap that goes on, and he can just motivate his team, and he can also pick his own players. He'll probably still have a whinge that he doesn't have a right back, and he wants to sign a good central midfielder. Oh, hang on, I can't sign them. I'll have to find one.
Yeah.
But I think, international football for him, it'll probably be the way, or he'll go back to Portugal, or maybe Turkey. Maybe he'll end up there. But he'll never coach in the Premier League again. I just can't see it. Bye-bye, Jose.
Maybe he could take over the Phoenix if Ufuk Talai leaves.
Absolutely not. I enjoy. I enjoy the style we play. I can't. That's the thing with Jose, man. I just can't understand his style. I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, look at the attacking players he had at Spurs, and he just refused to play them. He just goes, "Oh no, that's too risky," until they're 2-0 behind or something.
Yeah.
And that's all. He's been like that for the last 10 years. He's just way too defensive. I just don't like his style. Don't like his coaching style.
Yeah, I see Gareth Bale actually came out after he'd been sacked saying, we love to attack. I don't know why we don't do it more.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly. The Gareth Bale probably also came out and said, I love golf. I don't know why I don't do it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 93 million pounds in severance payments from being sacked from 4 clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad. Everyone goes, I feel so sorry. Got sacked. Well, far out. There's 93 million reasons not to.
Yeah, exactly. And as you alluded to, former player Ryan Mason, who retired after a head injury at age 26, has been placed in temporary charge till the end of the season. You sort of did start to talk about it before. Who will Daniel Levy look to get a high-profile replacement?
Yeah, of course he will. It's Daniel Levy. There was talk that he was going to go for the Bayern Munich coach, Hansi Flick, but I can't see him going there because he's probably getting lined up for the Bayern Munich job. Yeah, Bayern Munich. Oh, no, sorry. He was with Bayern Munich, with the Germany job. Munich, so who else? Who else could it be? Like I said, they would do awesome to get Bielsa, but like I said, I can't see them doing that. Of the other ones, what about the young fella that got sacked at Bournemouth, Eddie Howe? He's a good manager.
Talk about Brendan Rodgers.
Well, Brendan Rodgers, but would that be a forward step or a sideways step for him,
Oh, I think it'd be a sideways step, but there are still some top coaches that are unemployed at the moment. Max Allegri, the Italian, he's not got a job at the moment.
But he doesn't speak English, though, so that's a problem.
Doesn't seem to matter.
Mind you, Bielsa can get, I don't know. I'm just thinking of all the other Premier League coaches. Maybe they could get Sam in there to do a job for next year so they don't get relegated.
Oh, the young, yes, Big Sam. They'll even be even more defensive.
Bring him in.
They'll even be even more defensive.
Absolutely.
The Leipzig boss, Nagelsmann, he's been mentioned as well.
But I think he's being lined up for the Bayern Munich job. I think it's going to be, it's going to go like this.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see who Daniel Levy goes with. He's not going to stick with Ryan Mason, though. I'll tell you that for a fact. There's no way he's going to stick with the young guy. Even if he wins the League Cup, even if they made it, mind you, if they did
win the League Cup and qualify for Champions League, and he still wouldn't get
I still don't think he would. Even if he did that. That's just the way Daniel Levy works. He doesn't want a 29-year-old young Englishman. He wants someone like Jose.
Yeah.
God knows why.
Anyway, I think we've spoken enough about European and English football.
The number one game.
Phoenix won the distance derby against Perth 3-1 with 3 cracking goals from Ben Waine, Joshua Soterio and Louis Fenton. They still sit 9th on the table, but now only 3 points outside the playoff spots after last night's 1-1 draw with Western United.
Last night, Western United had a man sent off and we couldn't quite press it home in the at the end there. Mate, they play some real good football though, don't they? They really do. I mean, I don't care if we don't make the play. Well, I do, but I mean, I reckon you keep Ufuk Talay for another year. Just the style he's got them playing. I mean, you look at teams like Spurs and other leagues and people with managers that just have those, they win sometimes, they lose sometimes, but the fans are hardly ever happy. I mean, even when we draw against 10 men, I'm a happy camper. I like the style we're playing. So, mate, they're still in with a shot. Yep,
absolutely. And I see that bottom of the table, Melbourne Victory with all their superstars have sacked their coach. Grant Brebner, and have now just hired Tony Popovich.
Have they?
So he's now coaching his third A-League team.
Wow.
After Western Sydney Wanderers, he won the league with them and also won the A-League, the
Champions
Asian
League.
Champions League.
Asian Champions League, yeah.
And then he went to Perth and didn't do very well over there, but now he is in charge of the Victory.
Yeah, he's a good coach, though. He's a
very good coach, yeah.
You know, what he did with Western Sydney Wanderers, no one really saw that coming.
No.
So, yeah, I think he'll go well again. Oh, he can't do any worse, can he? I mean,
true.
They are crap this year.
They are just awful. I mean, they've got some good players in that.
I know.
So they're bottom on 11 points. So the Phoenix and 9th are 11 points ahead of them. I mean,
that's nuts, isn't it?
What does that tell you?
Yeah, it tells you the mud.
Melbourne City leading the way on 31.
That tells you they're lucky. That tells you they're lucky they're in the Super League where they can't get relegated.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Coast and Adelaide sitting second and third on 30 points. But both of those teams have played a game more than Melbourne. So
how many points are the Phoenix outside the top? What is
3.
it? 6.
So
they're 3 points.
They're on 22 points, and Western Sydney are in 6th. They're 25. MacArthur and Sydney FC are on 27.
It's just a couple of results, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Get a couple of results. We're in there. Shall we move to cricket, mate? Shall we get off football? Shall we get off football? Oh, football, eh? Don't you love it? Oh, what a cracker week in football. Okay, cricket. Kane Williamson returns from his elbow injury in the IPL. Had a quick fire 16 in the Sunrisers 9-wicket win over the Punjab Kings. I watched that end of that yesterday. He was struggling to hit the ball off the block. The block looked more like a, I don't know, dirt track. Looked like a greyhound track or something. It was awful. But yeah, they did well. His first match since early March. What did you make of that game? And what do you make of the way Kane played?
Oh, I think it was just Kane being Kane.
Yeah.
You know, he could be out of the game 6 months and he'll still come back and score a century in his first game.
Yeah.
It's just, continuity of Kane Williamson, really. And I think the biggest worry at the moment is the worries over the COVID situation in India, which means the Black Caps may not have the 4 players that are playing in the IPL for the early part of the UK tour.
Mate, I couldn't believe it actually when they said the IPL was going ahead. I mean, yesterday they had 314,000 new cases of COVID in India. I mean, I would have thought if you were going to have an IPL, you'd have it in another country or something,
done it
you know?
Before.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I know that they pump all the crowd noises into the grounds and all that, but half of the IPL is the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, watching it, I mean, I don't really enjoy the IPL. I don't really enjoy 2020 cricket that much. And when you chuck these hyper franchises where the Kings are playing the Super Kings, what the fuck is that about? You only got like 8 teams and you can't come up with 2 other names than the Kings. I mean, God, you may as well call them King, Queen, Princess. You know,
and then you've got the Kings 11 Punjab.
Yeah, just kings everywhere. Everyone wants to be a king.
Oh no, they're called the Punjab Kings now. All right.
Oh, there's the Chennai Super Kings, the Punjab Kings. Anyway, I just it's hard for me to grasp it. All I do is look at the players. I just look for the players and look for the New Zealanders. You know, so really it's hard for me to really care too much about the IPL, but I do care about our players going over there and playing in a country where COVID is just raging.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, those tests against England, they're now next month.
Yeah.
Isn't too far away.
Yeah. And I know it's big cash in their pocket, but you'd think, you know, perhaps a test series and maybe the first ever Test World Championship final would be maybe a priority.
You would think so.
You would have thought. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, money talks.
Quite right. Anyway, rugby league time. What's happening in the world?
Rugby league! The Warriors
had another win last week.
Oh, did they what, mate? St. George 20-14. St. George, they are a very good side, mate. They got a state of origin forward pack, and the Warriors are into the top 8 for the first time. In this game, the Warriors became the first team in NRL history. The first team in history. We created history, Macca. History. to complete all 40 tackle sets they were awarded. They completed 40 out of 40, 100% completion. Absolutely awesome effort from the boys. I like their last tackle options in this game. We looked really static in the game before. This time we sort of played a little bit off the cuff, a few more offloads, throwing it out the back on the right edge where Roger could wreak havoc, and he did. He was just awesome again. I mean, I'm just a broken record on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He could knock out Paul Gallen in 10 seconds, if you ask me. Big Ken Maumalo played his best ever game for the Warriors in his 101st. He's often been referred to as the mini beast, but he stepped up big time, mate. He resembled Manu. 200 running meters, 7 tackle busts. He was great. Also impressive was young centre Adam Pompey, perhaps the only in the side because star recruit Ewan Aitken is sidelined with injury, but he's amazing. He's got a lovely fancy footwork close to the line. He's a big guy, hard to tackle. He played really well. Unfortunately, he got an injury close to full time, which was a little bit unfortunate. And he's out for this week. Josh Curran and Ben Murdoch-Masila stepped it up in the forwards. Young Curran, very impressive in defence, racking up over 50 tackles. And the injuries. The Warriors welcome back Bailey Sirinen for the Anzac Day Monday clash with the Storm, and Jack Murchie has been interestingly moved to the centres to partner the impressive Marcelo Montoya. And young Reece Walsh, I'm looking forward to seeing this young kid.
Yeah.
He's been included on an extended bench. I think he's 18th man for the game against the Storm. And Pappenhausen is out for the Storm. Thank God for that, because he is an amazing player. That game with the Roosters on last Friday, that was a brutal game of league. There were at least 6 concussions in that game. Pappenhausen was out. He was face on the turf after the first 3 or 4 minutes. And then they popped him up, went off for about 30 seconds, came back on, played the rest of the game. I'm like, how does that work? So the Storm are being investigated over their concussion protocols, and fair enough too, man. I mean, he was gone. So, and he came on and he played absolutely awesome. I mean, maybe some players do that though, don't they? They actually play better a little bit concussed, which I mean, you're more on instinct. Dean Lonergan, exactly. What was it? The shuffle, the Dean Lonergan shuffle. What was it that the super coach used to say? Nothing wrong with a little bit of claret, helps you hang on to the pill, doesn't it?
That's the one. Yeah. I go with Jack Gibson. Hey, now I see Hayes Perham is off to the Eels effective immediately. Is that history repeating itself with was it Isaiah
Papiali? Oh my God, Isaiah Papiali was amazing again too over the week. And yeah, all these mid-season releases, man. I would have thought we would need some injury cover. We're not great in the centres. The thing is with Hayes, though, he's been with our side for about 3 years and he hasn't done much at all, really. I mean, he came into the side with a bit of hiss and a roar. He was head boy at Rotorua Boys. He was playing the first 15 as a third former, a very, very promising footballer, and he hasn't really done a lot. Mind you, we haven't given him a lot of minutes either. So I would have rather hung on to him. I don't really understand how all these mid-season transfers work, other than the teams are trying to make it's all about cap space, you know. So you got a player for 150,000 here, and you're trying to make 300,000 so you can buy a second rower next year. So you get rid of that. So that's really what it's all about. It's making room for cap space, and so we may sign someone in the coming weeks or maybe next year because of the cap space we've made. So let's just hope. I mean, I hope he goes well. I just hope he doesn't go too well.
It doesn't go too well.
For the Eels.
At the tail end of the show, we've got a new segment, Good Week, Bad Week. It was an early one on that. It's a good week for the New Zealand teams competing in Australia.
Man, last week, I think it was the first time in living memory. Yeah. All 3 Kiwi franchises won in the Australian competition. So the Phoenix, the Breakers, and the Warriors. Yeah. I mean, they've only been in the comp for, the 3 of them for, decades. Yeah. And could be, that's the first time in living memory, man, that all 3 won in the same weekend. Great efforts from all of them, actually. They all played really well. And, great week for New Zealand franchises in Australian competitions.
Quite right. Now, tell me a bit about Latrell Mitchell.
Okay.
Favourite, but he's going to be on the sidelines for 4 weeks.
He's been a naughty boy. I feel a little bit sorry for him. I think he's been a little bit hard done by. It was a bit of a spear tackle sort of thing. But my God, Latrell Mitchell, since he's gone to South Sydney, he's really stepped it up. A lot of people thought, oh, this guy doesn't have the fitness to play fullback. This guy isn't the sort of... He gets a lot of bagging for a really talented young Aborigine guy, you know. And this year, he has proved he's one of the best players in rugby league. He's played really well. And I did see on social media the other day where he's just bought his parents a house, like a really big house. Oh, and I know, and I just thought that is so choice. And he posted a photo of them standing next to the sold sign and everything. And I thought, man, what a class act. Also linking up with it's no coincidence that he linked up with Wayne Bennett there. Wayne Bennett's always been very good at communicating and inspiring those younger guys, especially the Aborigine fellas, to excel in their game. And I'm really pleased for Latrell Mitchell. I think he's going great. A little bit unfortunate. He was leading the Dally M leaderboard 13 points. Ryan Pappenhausen 12 points. Of course, he's out of the game against the Warriors. Thank God for that. So he's not going to be picking up any points. Yep. And then you got Nathan Cleary on 10. He's just been going absolutely fantastic, along with our very own Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on 10 points. So Roger is right up there with the Dally M leaderboard as well. And now a couple of other things in rugby league just before we go to our next sport, mate. Amazing finish in the Bunnies versus Tigers game. I don't know whether you saw this one, but it was the Bunnies were behind. Adam Reynolds takes a 2-point field goal with a couple of minutes to go to take it into Golden Point. Yep. Amazing finish. And then, did you see the last play of the game?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so Burgess, Sam's brother, powers down the middle, beats about 4 guys from about 30 yards. He's trucking up like a big tractor. The last guy comes to him. He goes over the post. He reaches over. And did he get the ball down? He looks like he celebrates. He jumps up and all the bunnies are going, yeah. Luke Brooks, the Tigers halfback, scoops up the ball, runs 100 meters down the other end. The referee goes, oh, hang on, and runs after him and awards a try to the Tigers. So both teams...
I did see that. Yeah.
Both teams have tries. It goes upstairs. They look at the first one, and Burgess just gets the ball down. And he runs all the way back to the other end and awards a try to the Bunnies. That was a crazy finish. Absolutely crazy finish, rugby league. Really, really exciting. Great game. The other great game, other than the Warriors one as well, was the Panthers versus the Broncos. The Broncos really came out strong after Kevy Walters fired up before the game. Before that even played... before that, just to go out, he was like, and I was like, wow, they have been playing like crap. So, I mean, and they came out and they played so well. They raised their game, but in the end, Nathan Cleary, 2-point field goal, won it for them. He's just so good. And then scores a try just to ice it all. He was just fantastic. They beat them. And then the Panthers again won against the Knights last night, 24-6. They've now won, get this, 22 regular season games in a row, dating back to July 2019. That is a phenomenal effort, isn't it, mate? In any sport to win 22 in a row.
Yeah, quite right.
I'll just do it before we go. I'll just do a quick table recap because the Warriors are in the 8. Penrith, of course, at the top of the ladder. They're on 12 points, closely followed by the Bunnies and the Eels. They're both on 10. And then there's a bit of a logjam. Melbourne, Sydney, and St. George on 8. And then the Warriors and the Gold Coast and Canberra and Newcastle all on 6. So, yeah, it's a pretty even comp at the moment. Other than Penrith, it's anyone's game, except right down the bottom, it's certainly not the Bulldogs' game. They've got 0 points after 7 games. Obviously, Mr. Hanson's now having very little effect at the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing much coaching.
No, I don't think so either. He's collecting probably a nice handy pay packet, though.
Quite right, quite consultant's fee, of course. Yeah,
love it.
On to good segue on to
code.
On a bit of code. Former New Zealand rugby chief David Moffat has come out saying this proposed $460 million deal with Silver Lake could be just another European Super League in disguise, saying that meaningless exhibition games for the All Blacks and a greater stake in New Zealand rugby will be the ultimate outcome of the proposed deal. The New Zealand Rugby AGM will vote on whether to proceed with the deal next week, apparently, and it would give Silver Lake a 15% stake in the game. But Moffat who was the chief executive between 96 and 2000, struggles to see where the value for Silver Lake is. I mean, they're not benefactors. They want to see some return on that. And, you know, you're going to see the All Blacks playing a meaningless test against USA in the States, you know, pile on another 100 points and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, you know, others coming out and speaking at Moffat was saying there wouldn't be a door that CEO Mark Robinson couldn't open to talk about raising money. So what happens if this doesn't work out? So,
yeah, I mean, I don't agree with everything Moffat says. I mean, I haven't for a long time, but I actually kind of do with these comments. When the Super League stuff in the football was going down, I actually did think about the New Zealand Rugby Union and this Silver Lake thing, and I thought, you know, why are these clubs trying to go away and do the Super League? Basically because of the money and because the owners know very little about the actual, you know, the sport, the dig down, the history, the roots, and what their fans want. But we've all, as fans of those clubs, we've all gone, okay, well, we can do that, or we can basically become a small club. You know, you take the money and you know what might come with the money, but we didn't know that it might turn into Super League, but now we do. Now we know that really they think they can do whatever the hell they want with the sport. So this is a real it's a point in New Zealand rugby's history where they have to sort of go, okay, in other professional sports, just take a lead, just take a look at it and go, other professional sports, they took the money and sometimes they took it too quickly, and look at what the consequences of that are. I just hope that the New Zealand Rugby Union is looking at the consequences of, if we do sell part of our brand, All Blacks, what does that mean? You know, yes, we get a whole bunch of cash. Yes, we can do a whole bunch with that cash and promote our game and promote our team and do all that. But what does that actually mean? What are we selling? You know, it's what are they going to want? Like you said, they're going to want a return on investment, man. They're going to want that. Global profits. They want the All Blacks playing as many games as possible, probably 20 games, you know? We think they play too many now with maybe 10 or 12. They'll want them playing more because they're part of it. No, so it can't be good for their game. So, yeah, please, New Zealand Rugby Union, just think about that, you know?
Yes, quite right. And there's also been a lot of discussion, especially this week, about the introduction of Moana Pacifica and Fijian Drua into Super Rugby for next year. Moana Pacifica are going to be playing in South Auckland with games spread between Mount Smart and Eden Park. But also they want to have a game, at least one game a season in Samoa for the Moana. Possibly one in Tonga as well. And obviously the Fijian Drua, who will be based in Sydney. They want one game in Fiji as well, or two. Eligibility is likely to be 80% of players must be eligible for Fiji, Samoa, or Tonga, with the remaining 20% not eligible for the Pacific nations, i.e., Kiwis, Aussies, Poms, French, etc. Bit of talk around on the Sky's the Breakdown program the other night. Ken Laban, who's obviously a huge advocate for Pacifica rugby, was saying he want to see now the current super provinces or franchises holding on to their Pacifica players and allowing them to go and play for Pacifica. I mean, the ones that spring straight to mind are the Highlanders, Jonah Nareki and Folau Fakatava, who apparently is currently not eligible for the All Blacks for another 2 years because of residential situation. So, but then the All Black selectors may want him to stay and become a New Zealander because, you know, Aaron Smith and TJ Perinara, they're both the same age, so they're going to retire at about the same time. So, you know, who's the next cab off the rank? Brad Webber's not much younger. I mean, he's only a year or two younger than those two. So it becomes so tricky when you're talking about professional franchises and the way you select players is via international eligibility, because you're basically talking about two different things.
So that is really tricky. And also, if you're going to have 20% not eligible for Pacific Nations, does that mean that the other franchises in Super Rugby can have 20% not eligible for their own nation?
Well, I don't know. Maybe this is a condition to help these two new sides get up to speed. The last thing we really want to see is the Sunwolves situation where they were in Super Rugby for 6 years and won 9 games. But
they did get some traction near the end. They got a little bit better, and then they didn't have the backing. But they didn't also have a lot of Japanese players. A lot of their players were expats. I think it's a little bit different in the islands. I mean, because they've got that, historical base of players that play all around the world that they could bring back.
The other thing that came up in discussions too was the likes of former All Blacks who are Pacifica heritage, the likes of Steve Luatua, Charles Piutau,
Savia, Julian Savia.
That haven't played for the All Blacks for a while now.
For a while.
Would it be good for them to come back and be eligible to play international rugby for Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, and
100%
eligible for these two Super Rugby sides?
Absolutely, it would. But will the IRB allow that? That's where they'll say, you're cheating the system again down there, absolutely it would. It's unfair that some players get 1 or 2 games for the All Blacks when they're younger and then they're not eligible for their Pacific Island nations. I mean, there should be some stand down, don't get me wrong, but I mean, after a while, if they're prepared to wear the stand down and say, right, I want to be eligible for that team now, why the hell not? All you're doing is diluting the quality of international rugby if you don't allow that to happen. So, and rugby isn't a big enough sport to do that. It's not like football. So you want the best possible Samoa, Tonga, Fiji playing, regardless of whether they got a chance of beating the All. I just want the best teams playing, don't you? So absolutely.
Another thing that made me smile about all this was that the ARU, Australian Rugby Union, still haven't signed off on their participation in Super Rugby next year. So, once again, New Zealand Rugby jumping the gun before ticking all the boxes. How long have we seen this going on for?
Jeez. So does that make New Zealand the Real Madrid of the whole situation? Or does it make Australia? Australia are probably the Tottenham Hotspur, aren't they? They're sort of last consulted and they'll jump in when we say.
Yeah.
And they never win anything.
Maybe it needs Mark Robinson and their CEO to walk hand in hand at Bondi Beach.
Yeah. Oh, maybe Takapuna Beach this time.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, mate. It's strange. Meaningless last round of pool play in Super Rugby Australia. A lot of people would say that Super Rugby Australia is meaningless, but never mind. As the Force play the unbeaten Reds and the winless Waratahs face the Rebels. The Brumbies face the third place Rebels next week to see who plays the Reds in the finals. In the final, who you got in the Brumbies versus the Rebels?
Oh, it has to be the Brumbies. I mean, both Brumbies and the Reds are so far ahead of the other 3 franchises over there. It's not silly. But I'm glad you missed the previous paragraph because I didn't really want to have.
I can't read it. What is? Loss for the champion Crusaders. How many is that in a row? Is that 22 in a row?
2 of our last 3.
In a row.
2 of our last 3.
2 of your last 3. That must be a record of some description. Going down to the resurgent Chiefs. Playoff place is well and truly up for grabs now. As a Blues fan, we're sort of slowly getting worse and worse, as are the Crusaders. It's actually quite funny. The teams down the bottom are getting better. The ones up the top are getting worse. Makes for a good comp, though, mate. Makes for a good comp, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the Chiefs, lost their first 2 games, meaning they'd lost 11 in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
Now they've won their last 4 on the trot.
I know, 4 in a row. It's crazy, but that's sport, mate, isn't it?
That's what sport's all about, Aaron.
Wins and losses. Guaranteed income, Macca. Guaranteed income is what it's about.
Yep. Quite right. So, yes, Hurricanes really now the only side that are pretty much out of contention.
Oh, the poor old Canes, eh?
Poor old Canes. Yeah.
And they've got politicians to worry about down there as well, don't you?
Yeah, quite right. So, I mean, The Crusaders have still got a 7-point lead, but Chiefs and the Blues have still got a game in hand. So, and I think the Crusaders play the Blues this weekend, if I'm not.
Is it?
Yes, Crusaders Blues on Sunday. Sunday.
Is that up here or down Christchurch?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So that should be a big one.
Americans on Friday night, and
so
got the bye.
3 out of 4, mate. Lose 3 out of 4. Woo! Let's make it 3 out of 4.
Yeah, can't see that happening.
You couldn't see the previous 2 coming either, though, could you?
No.
Hey, should we move stateside, mate? Should we go to a bit of baseball action? Because I'm getting spammed all over my news feed about these mighty Mariners. Mighty Mariners.
They are unbelievable, although Oakland has gone half a game ahead of them in the American League West. But, yeah, there's a few sides leading the way now that nobody gave a hoot about at the start of the season. I mean, the American League East, Boston Red Sox are 2 games ahead of Tampa.
Absolutely.
I shudder to say the not-so-mighty New York Yankees are...
Mate, you're mud at the moment.
Place. I mean, I know we're only a 10th of the way into the season, but early form is not good. Sitting 6 wins, 11 losses. Crikey.
It's one of the worst records you've ever had, mate.
We're one of their worst starts to the season. In the Central, Kansas City leading the way, and pre-season favourites Minnesota languishing 4 games back. So it's all you guys can really pick them. You experts, eh? Absolutely. About the only team that we thought would do well and are doing well are the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a given, isn't it?
They've got the best record in baseball at the moment with 14 wins and 4 losses.
And perhaps the best roster too, mate. Definitely the most expensive.
Yeah, 3 games ahead of San Francisco, who everybody thought would be
shit, and they're great. Yeah.
Diego of won 10, lost 10, and then you've got Arizona and Colorado, the only team with a worse record than the Yankees.
Oh, that's funny.
And in the Central, National League Central, St. Louis Cardinals, who were favourite to win that, are sitting bottom. They're 3 games out of first place behind the Milwaukee Brewers, Cincinnati Reds, Pittsburgh, and Chicago Cubs. Then none of them are doing that well either. So
there's probably some good money to be had at the TAB if you know what you're doing with the baseball.
Absolutely.
Hey, one thing I did notice in the baseball, mate. Did you see Xander Bogaerts turned up at a press conference last night in the Liverpool shirt? Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
He said, he said, total coincidence for the shirt. Just so you guys know, I don't play soccer, but I like it the way it is. I was like, that's beautiful.
Yep.
That's from the guys that own the Liverpool Football Club. I thought that was a great thing.
And of course, John Henry was in the room at that press conference.
Was he in the room? Oh, well, even better. Better. That's fantastic.
Well done to Xander Bogaerts, although I'm not a Sox fan, but well done to him. And maybe there's a wee thing about FSG, Fenway Sports Group, that really might have turned out to be true, that the fact that they shouldn't be in charge of Liverpool because they own the Red Sox.
Oh, come on.
The dirty Red Sox.
Oh, yeah. Come on. This is a dirty Yankees fan. I'm always a Sox fan over the Yankees, mate. I always support the Sox over the Yankees.
Quite right. Good on you. Anyway, another rest in peace. Very sad to hear this one. Ian Galloway, the doyen of New Zealand cricket commentators. He passed away earlier this week, aged 98. Fantastic innings from Ian Galloway. Didn't quite get to raise his bat. I grew up listening to the voice of New Zealand cricket long before anyone knew who Brian Waddle was. Galloway, a lawyer by trade, was based in Dunedin and absolutely adored his beloved Carisbrook and was devastated when it was replaced by the new Forsyth Bar Stadium. Very eloquent in his commentary of cricket.
Beautiful lyricist.
It was like listening to what could you compare it?
It was like Chopin on the piano. Yeah. Honestly, he had a turn of phrase. He was beautiful. He was a real wordsmith, he was He could paint pictures with words,
Right.
and that's what you want in a cricket. But then he also had so many anecdotes, didn't he? And sometimes he'd take 3 overs to tell them, and that's what you love about cricket commentary, isn't it? I mean, Jeremy Coney's the closest we've got to him now, obviously.
Right.
And of course, his son, Ian Galloway, is a very good commentator as well. And Garth Galloway, and is very quite similar in his style as well to his dad. Very softly spoken, but beautifully, very well-spoken man. I really enjoy listening to him as well. He's a lawyer as well, isn't he?
He is, yes. Back in my radio days, Garth and I actually did a game together in Palmerston North.
Is that right?
Districts against, was it Otago or Canterbury? Can't quite remember. In Palmerston North. And it was both of our first games that we'd ever commentated.
Oh, really?
And Garth,
what year would this be, Macca? What year? What can you give us?
95, 94,
okay.
95. Yeah, over that 95 summer.
Wow.
And Garth had this full scat pad. So, I mean, it was a big pad. And it had a list of all the sayings that you should and shouldn't include in your commentary that his father had given him.
Don't say these things. Oh my God. No pressure.
Religiously. And so I had a wee bit of smile. I turned up to do my first game of commentary. No notes, nothing. Just thought, I'll just wing.
It's all here. It's all here.
Garth had done months of preparation. I just had the cricket.
And how'd you go?
Oh, we did
go. Was it good?
We enjoyed each other's company and had some good laughs and
great.
Enjoyed my 4 days commentating with Garth Galloway. It was magnificent.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, rest in peace, Ian Galloway. What a great commentator.
Quite right. Right, we'll finish off this week. We've gone on.
Just before we do, just a couple of things. Just before we do your last segment. Ian Smith has also been announced the new host of Sen's Mornings. I don't know whether you've seen this. Obviously, we talked about this earlier with your old mate, the boss now of Sen's Mornings, which is Sport Entertainment New Zealand. For those of you that don't know, they're going to be bringing sports radio back to New Zealand, which is great. And Ian Smith has been announced as the host of the morning show. You happy with that?
Yep, I was just about to do that in my good week, but that's all right.
Oh, sorry. Well, you can continue with that. One last thing then, before we get to the last thing. You're probably going to do a good week bit on this one as well. Scott McLaughlin and Scott Dixon, any mention of those guys?
No, I'd completely forgotten about the two Scots.
There you go, the two Scots. We had the first IndyCar race over the thing. I think Scott Dixon finished third, and Scotty McLaughlin finished a very credible, I think it was 13th. They both did very well. It was a tough race. Won by who won? I know that Max Powell, Palou, did very well. He was just too quick. His car was just too quick. But great to see Scotty McLaughlin in his first race, first full proper race. What's that?
I actually watched quite a bit of that race.
Yeah, it's good, the IndyCars.
Interesting to watch. Although the commentators have long ad breaks, don't they?
Oh, they do. And we don't get the ad breaks, so it's just nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. So you get about 3 minutes commentary and then nothing for 5 minutes.
And it cuts out. I know. Dead air. Don't want that.
Continuing the car race.
Over to you.
Shane van Gisbergen finally got beaten in the supercars after winning the first 6 races in a row. But he still got a podium finish in race 7 and finished outside the podium in the third race in Tasmania. But he still leads the supercar standings by quite some distance, even though after 8 races. So.
And his New Zealand Grand Prix car is going to be parked under the Sky Tower from today onwards. So if anyone's in Auckland and wants to go and check out his car, I'll be showing it off to the punters over this weekend and the coming weeks. Also thanks to Red Bull and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah, very good, very good. Right, good week, bad week. We're going to finish off the show each week with a few people who have had a good week and a few people who have had not so good week. You already talked about one. Ian Smith announced as the new host for mornings, and that follows earlier news that Brendan McCullum will be one of the breakfast hosts. So,
cool.
good strong cricket following in the first two announcers shown, and somebody else who had a good week, Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers, after his side beat Man City to make the FA
Great
Cup.
character. Great character.
A great character. Very proud. Very proud.
Very proud. Very
and
proud.
3 important points this morning to extend the gap over the chasing pack in the race for Champions League places. Bad week. Lydia
Okay.
Ko. After winning her first tournament in 3 years last weekend, Ko has had a horror show first 2 rounds at the LA Open and has missed the cut. So not such a great week for our Lydia.
Maybe she went out partying. Who knows?
Perhaps too much.
She should. She needs to.
Quite right. And I think this one goes without saying. Who's had a bad week? Mr. Florentino Perez, the president of Real Madrid and the man behind the failed Super League, who states, "I was doing it to save football, Aaron."
Yep, and he
claims football in its current state will be dead by 2024, but then yesterday signed Bayern Munich defender David Alaba to a deal that doesn't expire until 2026.
And on 220,000.
What's Alaba going to be doing for those last 2 years of the deal? Because football
and on £220,000 a week.
Yeah,
I mean, for a club that needs to start a Super League because they got no money, it's like, yeah, you're saying one thing and doing another, mate. Yeah. I mean, I love this quote from him. We have to analyze why young people, 16 to 24-year-olds, 40% of them aren't interested in football. Why? They say the games are too long. If young people don't watch an entire game, it's because it isn't interesting enough, or we'll have to shorten the games. Really? So anytime anyone isn't, oh no, this is boring. Well, change it. It's like, mate, we're not going to be left with football if that guy's left in charge, honestly.
16 to 24-year-olds don't like watching players rolling around in agony on the park after they've been touched.
Exactly. Yeah. One thing that could have been in favour of the Super League, this is something I was thinking of the other day, I mean, probably very naughtily of me, is if they said, right, the Super League isn't going to have VAR, they might have instantly got a whole bunch of people on side. They said, right, no VAR. We're going to go back to the everyone went, well, hang on, they've got a couple of good points. So I wouldn't mind, know. So but look, mate. I mean, 16 to 24-year-olds, let's shorten the game to 30 minutes. Oh, we're interested.
Yeah.
And then a year later, oh no, I'm interested in something else now. Anyway,
yeah. Right. And before we finish, as a committee member of the Greytown Football Club, I would just like to categorically deny any involvement in the Super League. We were never approached.
Well, fair enough, because Birkenhead United was about to enter get our lawyers involved. So I'm glad we don't have to sort of engage you in those sort of negotiations.
Quite right.
Because we all know we're a superior team. If only we could just play the greatest football teams in New Zealand every single week, there'd be no problem.
Just quite right. Quite right.
Yeah. Oh, great to talk to you, mate. What a week it's been in sport.
Yes, it's been an interesting week in sport.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Actually, it's been a super week. It's been a super week.
Anyway, it's a good goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Like and subscribe below. Leave us a comment. See you next time.